Hi, I'm Jonathan Wright, Chief Technologist for Eggplant, part of the Keysight family. So, where I think artificial intelligence is really defining the new opportunities within financial services and banking is really around the next generation generative AI capabilities. Of course, we've seen a lot of legislation when it comes to the use of AI infused tools, and therefore we need now new regulatory compliance and operational frameworks to support it. So, what you're seeing is a lot of things like the European Commission AI Act, which is now very similar to GDPR, which is, again, large fines for organizations, especially in the financial services landscape, that maybe are adopting artificial intelligence without those ethics and guideline frameworks around there. So I think there's a lot moving in new opportunities for growth within the business sector and banking sector, but really the challenge is how to implement it safely and with the level of trustworthy that will ensure that your end users can maximize these next generation technologies without facing huge fines if it's misused. So yeah, there's going to be some challenges around the European Union Artificial Intelligence Act that kind of gives it some guidelines around how you actually implement safe and secure and trustworthy artificial intelligence systems. This framework really guides towards the use of offline, secure AI solutions. So less focus on leveraging, public-facing solutions like OpenAI, which we're all very familiar with, but also maybe cloud-based ML solutions, which don't really have the auditability that would be and rigor that would be needed to, especially around regulatory and compliance. This information needs to be brought back inside of your financial services systems, and you need to be able to make sure that it's ring-fenced and it's appropriately governed to make sure that it gives you that visibility into what decisions have been made for what reasons. So take, for instance, something like risk. You've got algorithms running every day, and of course that already has a level of machine learning within that kind of tolerance levels. Now that with more AI infused solutions for making decisions on the output of, say, for instance, risks, is going to require this kind of governance layer that allows you to audit the decisions that have been made, make sure that those algorithms are performing at the level they're not over time potentially being overfitted and not fit for purpose. So really it's a continuous challenge to make sure that you're operating with kind of AI for good and building that trustworthiness within your organization, that the actual repeatability and overall quality of what you're getting of these systems is at the level which the regulators will expect. So it's step one in the journey, but I think there's going to be a lot more rigor, especially within financial services, which you need to be abreast of. So one of the most exciting things, and I know there's a lot of investment going on in the Bay Area with organizations like OpenAI, is they're looking, and Sam, who's the founder, is looking at something called large action models. Now, what large action models are this replacement for human kind of augmentation. So the ability for it to understand systems, especially within the banking landscape. There's typically been hundreds of systems that would require a subject matter expert to actually be able to navigate between those systems and understand maybe the data that needs to be put into each system, how those transforms work, and what that means for the actual underlying expected results. With these large action models or LAMs, what that really means is they'll be able to understand the goal which it's trying to solve, which could be, a mortgage application, or it could be something like a basic financial transaction. And it's able to process that itself. So it's able to understand and interpret the context of what it's trying to achieve, but then also drive a number of different screens. We saw this with early days of robotic process automation, but really that didn't have really what we call cognitive reckoning. So the ability to understand and interpret results, i.e. if you're looking at a Swift file message, it could understand whether it was valid or invalid based on its own knowledge of the Swift format and what it should be expecting to see. So I think part of this, bringing artificial intelligence into the robotic process automation landscape is going to be really exciting, because there's still a lot of manual transactions, there's still a lot of manual intervention, which could potentially be reduced by intelligent automation. So I think what we're going to see is the initial kind of regulatory and compliance for guidelines around use of generative AI tools. I think a lot of people are quite excited about being able to embrace this technology. However, like using the internet, it comes with a certain level of policy that needs to be implemented. A lot of organizations have either chose one direction, which is not to use these technologies at all, or to put these compliance frameworks in there that say, okay, if you're going to use these tools, this is how you're going to do it. They might even be, giving some basic training for things like prompt engineering, so that people are using the correct prompts and correct structure so that they can actually get consistent results. So it's educating people on how to use these tools, but it's also putting the process in place to make sure that they are using them for the right reason. They're not just going in, copying, say, production code, and then using the tool like Copilot for GitHub, and then not really looking at the results and potentially, committing that code into a production system. They need to use it for the right reasons on maybe lower risk solutions, which aren't going to impact, production systems. So quite an exciting concept around bringing in generative AI into banking, but at the same time, it's putting that risk framework in place to make sure people aren't misusing it, or maybe not making sure they check the actual outcome, the quality of the outcome that's coming back from these type of systems.